So, we are live right now celebrating 1,400 daily streams in a row. It is Friday, March 25th, and a new patch screen just came out. A new blog post from Ruby about a patch that is coming on the 29th, which is this coming Tuesday. And it reads thusly. Hi all, I have a preview of some of the changes for our next game update, which will be March 29th. This preview isn't comprehensive. The complete list of skills and balance notes will be in next Tuesday's update notes, but it is a look at some of the changes we know you'll all be especially interested in. Read on. March 29th, 2022, release notes. So there will be more than what we see here, essentially. Exposed. The exposed effect is applied when a creature's defiance bar is broken and causes the creature to take additional power and condition damage for a short duration. Previously, there was no consistent duration for exposed. We are standardizing its applied duration to 10 seconds, which is longer than the previous durations. I hope they remembered to keep the Dragon's End exposed at 30 seconds, because they literally just changed that. With increased duration, we are also adjusting the effect to compensate. Previously exposed caused the target to take 30% increased damage from strikes, they basically mean power attacks, and 100% increased damage from conditions. Now, quite some time ago, it was sometime in the last year that they made the change where it was 100% more damage from conditions, and that's because Condi builds were almost never taken in like fractals and stuff like that. And guess what? Now power builds are almost never taken in fractals. Like, they completely just took the balance and just turned it over. So they shifted too far in the other direction. This short window of exposed over-rewarded certain builds with high burst capability in content such as fractals. The short, moving forward, exposed causes 10% increased damage from strikes and 20% from conditions over a longer duration of 10 seconds. This allows more time to take advantage of this window of opportunity while more consistently rewarding a variety of builds. We will be keeping a very close eye on the effects of this change. This change does not affect the exposed effect on Suwon in the final encounter of the Dragon's End map meta event. It's funny that they actually wrote Suwon there. They forgot to... Yeah, they've been so cryptic in the patch notes. Usually instead of saying Dragon's End, they say Jade Sea, and then they'll just say like the meta boss. But I guess they forgot to be spoiler-free for their patch notes this time. So it's good that they remembered that. That's interesting. Keep a close eye on the effect. So I imagine the main people that might complain about this change are the ones that do fractals the most. The ones who can take down a boss, like, you know, Dragon Hunters, they pre-trap, and like they start the fight and they do more traps, they interrupt it, and then they do like 150,000 DPS for 5 seconds, and then the fight is over. It's literally over in less than 10 seconds. You know, they might not like this, but everybody else, you know, it might be better for the average Joe. We will see. But so that change is coming. Elementalist. Really quick recap, they recently nerfed Elementalist. Their reasoning was that they said the Elementalist that provided quickness, that's a catalyst, was doing way more damage than the other classes that provided quickness. So that would be Harbinger, DPS Scrapper, and DPS Firebrand. And so they wanted to tone it down. It's like, okay, that logic makes sense. So they said, okay, so what we're going to do is wham! And then they just hit it with a sledgehammer, and it still hasn't recovered. So before I even read the rest of this, I'm guessing that it's going to be a buff of some sort. I'm going to kind of laugh if it's another nerf. But it's one of those nervous laughters, like, you know. In our previous update, we addressed the fact that the Catalyst pure DPS builds were simultaneously providing 100% quickness uptime for a party while doing among the highest damage output of any spec in the game. So the build that was able to do that damage involved standing inside of a golem's hitbox. It wasn't actually feasible in real fights, or you would die. Which I know, you know, we all joke that that is their Elementalist default state, but honestly, they weren't really even doing the highest DPS in the game on real fights. But okay, let's keep going. As other boon support builds that provide excellent uptime on critical boons, such as quickness and alacrity, have less damage output than builds focused purely on damage, the Catalyst was at risk of supplementing all other quickness providers in group content. We address this by making trait and damage output changes quickly to prevent it from distorting the co-op play metagame. However, it left the Catalyst damage builds not meeting our goals for the profession. It's difficult to play well, and it's only dealing competitive damage on large targets or targets where you can stand inside their hitbox. Good on them for recognizing that. That's not great. No, it's not. We want every profession and specialization to feel awesome, regardless of the size of your enemy. I only feel awesome when I'm fighting something dummy thick. We're prepared a list of changes to specific skills and effects to help reach these goals for PvE play. None of the following changes apply to PvP or World v World. Key issues. Issue 1. Hammer 3's orbiting elemental missiles each give a beneficial passive effect while active, but the skill usage pattern required to upkeep each one is very unforgiving. To address this, the duration of the elemental missiles and their effects in PvE are being increased from 5 seconds to 15. Wow. As before, activating a new one refreshes the timer on all of them. It's not only going to be easier to keep them all up at the same time, we're also significantly increasing the passive benefits for having each active so that keeping them all up is a rewarding goal. Blurred Muck. Oh, my camera's was probably acting up. Rocky Loop and Icy Coil now reduce incoming damage by 3 times more than they did previously, from 5% up to 15%, while Crescent Wind now gives an increased critical hit chance, formerly 7, now 10. Flame Wheel now increases all damage you do from 5, now 10. That's a lot. Issue 2. Too much of the Catalyst damage is reliant on hitting as often as possible with Hammer 3's orbiting elemental missiles. This could make it hard to play consistently against small targets or in situations where you can't walk inside of your target's hitbox. To address this, the damage from a Hammer 3's missiles is being dramatically reduced so that the Catalyst... Okay, before I panic, that's completely fine as long as you move it somewhere else. Dramatically reduced so that the Catalyst is not reliant on keeping them inside an enemy's hitbox for effective play. Instead, we've packaged all of that removed damage and a lot more into other things that you're doing while they're up. Good. Good. Who's reading on that? Yes. The hammer is a weighty weapon, and it should feel like it when you're crushing your enemies. All of your Hammer 1 and Hammer 2 skills now deal more damage per hit. Grand Finale deals a lot more damage per missile, too, so once you have all your missiles from Hammer 3 out, you're ready to launch an attack worthy of that preparation. Issue 3. The Shattering Ice utility skill is a powerful source of damage, but fully taking advantage of it requires that you hit a target every quarter second. Otherwise, you miss out on damage you could have gotten from this skill. To address this, we're increasing the interval on this effect from a quarter second to 1 whole second, which with significantly increased damage. This makes it easier to reliably get the full damage possible out of this utility skill. All right. Catalyst PvE updates. Singeing Strike, damage coefficient increase from 0.67 to 0.9. That's almost a 50% increase. Searching Flames increase from 1. These are all PvE only, so I'm not going to say that every time. From 1.5 to 1.8. Stream Strike, small buff. Water Rush, small buff. Chilling Crack, small buff. Rain of Blows, very teeny tiny buff. Wind Slam, 10 to 20% buff. Hurricane of Pain, decent buff, almost 20%. Stone Strike, small buff. Whirling Stones, small buff. Flame Wheel, Icy Coil, Crescent Wind, Rocky Loop. Nerf dramatically, but they said they're moving that damage somewhere else. Good God. I mean, I know they just said they were going to do it, but wow, that's like rotating tickle rocks now. Rocky Loop, duration increased from 5 seconds to 15 in PvE. Damage reduction while active increased from 5 to 15 in PvE. Crescent Wind, 5 to 15. They're all 5 to 15. Crit chance goes from 7 to 10. Icy Coil, condition damage reduction while active increased from 5 to 15. Flame Wheel, condition damage bonus while active increased from 5 to 10. Grand Finale, damage coefficient per missile increased from 0.7 to 1.0. Dude, these buffs are going to be so good. I wonder if the new rotation is going to be like, don't launch them. Just keep them spinning. I'm definitely interested in what the math nerds end up finding out. Like, with all these buffs, I'm wondering if it's going to be better just to keep them spinning and not launch them at the enemy unless the enemy is about to die. Utilities. Shattering Ice damage coefficient per strike increased from 0.1 to 0.6. 6x buff. Chill duration increased from 0.5 second to 1 second in PvE only. Interval duration strikes on the same target increased from 0.25 to 1 second. So, you can trigger it less often, but it's 6 times the damage and double the chill. Empowered Empowerment, PvP split removed, effectiveness increase in PvE change from 50% back to 100%, matching PvP in World v World. Very interesting. Is there more, or is it just a Catalyst update? She said right here, it isn't comprehensive. Genesis? Again, is that all? No, Dan, it's not comprehensive. Oh my God. The first 2 posts didn't read to the second sentence. This is why I don't go to the forums much except when people tell me to. All right, so yeah, there you go. Those are the changes we know of. That is the sneak peek at what is coming on Tuesday. If there is more, I'll let you know.